Hello students, today we're going to look at communication skills' presentations section. Quite a few have been sending in presentations, but many of you missed the class on the secrets of successful presentations. So I thought I'd put something together for you, and let's see if this helps. I'm going to minimize my little screen so that you can see the actual screen with the slides. All right, so here we go. So what are the secrets of successful presentations? I've taken some of this from Jenny Wright's book, The Communication for Science, and also from a website, but I'll put that URL up a little bit later on. So there are two keys to successful presentations. And what are they? Firstly, you need to face your fear. I know some people are very scared of speaking in public or speaking, standing in front of a room full of people, and especially if it's a panel that's going to mark your work. But you need to face your fear. And how do you do that? It's the second secret. You prepare well, and then you know your topic. So, you want to do well, but you feel self-conscious and you're scared that you'll make a fool of yourself and people will laugh at you, but don't worry, we want you to do well, right? So focus on the message rather than on how you're feeling self-conscious, how you are scared to talk in public and so forth. Then don't forget you need to face the audience. This is when we are after this COVID-19 thing and we're back in class, or you're in a room where there's a panel of academics and your fellow students who are sitting and watching and listening. Then you need to face them, all right? And if you apply the second secret, if you prepare well, that'll help you to face the audience. So, how does one prepare well? There are three ways. You think, you find and organize your information, and you practice. Practice, practice, practice. So, when I say think, you need to think about who will the audience be? Who is going to be listening to your presentation? Who is going to be watching you perform there in front? Or if it's a recording you're making, who are you sending this recording to? In our case, you'll be sending it to me, and I will be watching your video and I'll be marking it. Or it might be a moderator whom you haven't met that's marking it, or a colleague of mine might mark it, and then I moderate. So it's somebody who's going to mark your work in our case, right? What is the occasion? What is the occasion? Why are you doing this presentation? So you know why you're doing this presentation, right? For assignment 1, the topic is the same as the assignment, and for assignment 2, the topic is the same as assignment 2. I'm talking about the oral portion now. So your first assignment, you are required to cover a certain topic, and so I've structured the oral question to be the same. So you need to cover orally what you're looking at in your big assignment. The problem that you have is you have to do it in 5 minutes, so you really need to think about what you're going to talk about. Then you need to think about what are your aims, what are your own aims. What do you want to accomplish with this? In this case, it's you want to get a good mark for your presentation. But many years later, it might be you want to win this contract. You want to win this tender for this big contract. Then we need to think about the venue. Where are you going to be doing this presentation? If we manage to get back onto campus, then it's going to be a venue that is designated. You need to go and scope out that venue. You need to go and have a look at the venue. How big is the venue? Where exactly will you be standing, etc. What equipment will you use? So if it's in a physical place, as opposed to pre-recording it, that's very different, obviously. But if you have to be in a lecture room, will there be a projector? Will there be a laptop? You will need these things if you want to project something onto the screen. Will there be a screen? Or is it going to be projected onto a wall? All of those things. Is there a microphone if it's a massive venue? Or and so forth. So you need to know beforehand what equipment you need and who will provide it. Will the lecturer provide it? Must you bring your own equipment? Many times I would have to bring my own laptop, and also beforehand I would need to send my presentation. I would need to email my presentation or send a link to the presentation to the organizers so that they load that presentation beforehand. For instance, at an academic conference, there might be many people presenting, and then instead of losing time, everyone coming forward and then loading up the presentation, and that takes 5-10 minutes, and so that can really drag out. So the organizers normally want everybody, all the presenters, to send their presentations in advance, and then it's a matter of a click of a button for the next presenter. Time. This is very important. How much time do you have to do your presentation? Again, to refer to an academic conference, often it's 20 minutes, and that's the maximum. Sometimes it's a little bit longer, but often it's 20 minutes. That's the maximum time that you have to present, and then you must leave 10 minutes for question and answer session. Now, in our case, you have a maximum of 5 minutes. That's it. You need to cover that whole topic in 5 minutes. Now, you will be penalized if you go over the 5 minutes. It's there. It's in the rubric, maximum 5 minutes. So you need to remember this. 5 minutes, that's the maximum that you've got. So now you have to practice beforehand to make sure that your presentation falls within that 5 minutes. So now, how do we go about preparing? So it's for your, let's say it's your first assignment. What is the topic of your assignment? All right, go and gather all the information, and then you organize your information in such a way that you will be able to record it. Maybe you can put it on little cards, etc. Put it in the correct sequence so that you know that you're going to go from this point to that point to that point. To do that, it helps to have a speech outline. Right? It's very useful when you plan. So you can organize your information and you just put key points down. Maximum 1 or 2 pages. You don't need to have a whole reams and reams. No, just put the key points down. Like here, I've got bullet points, and then I speak to bullet points. Right? So that's your speech outline. Then you have an outline of your oral. You have an introduction. What's the topic and what will you be covering? Sometimes you might have a purpose statement. What is the purpose of this presentation? And then you make your main point. Make your first main point, and you provide support. You provide evidence for that main point. Then you move on to your second main point, and then you provide evidence again, support for that main point, and so forth. You go on until you reach your conclusion. The big thing is you have to practice. You must practice. I say it's best if you practice in front of an audience. So you're at home now, then practice in front of your family, or if you've got an audience of whoever, try and practice in front of that audience. Under lockdown conditions, I suppose, there's not much of a choice, but There you go. At the dinner time, you could say, after dinner, can you just listen to this quickly? And then you go through your presentation. Good way of doing it is recording yourself, doing a video selfie, and then you watch it. You can see how you perform, how the next person is going to perceive your presentation. Another thing that helps a lot is to speak in front of a mirror. You can see your expressions, you can see them as they're happening. And then visualize your audience. Think about what the audience will be, what the experience of the audience will be listening to your presentation and observing you. Please speak in a lively, enthusiastic manner. Don't speak in a monotone, put your audience to sleep like that. You don't want your audience to react like this, or like this. You need your audience to be engaged. You need your audience to be smiling. You need your audience to be excited by your presentation. So you want this reaction rather than a sleeping audience. Techniques. This is an example of a bad visual slide. It's slightly out of focus. So this is something you need to avoid. However, the messages contained in the slide are important. Convey your enthusiasm for your subject. Pay attention to your posture and your tone, and your audience will mirror your attitude. Don't confuse enthusiasm with loudness. Okay, try and convey a range of emotions, from concern, anticipation, excitement, dismay, etc. So there must be a range as opposed to just one monotone, which is extremely boring. So you should also use visual support, like you saw I used there, a few photographs just to emphasize the point. And you can go to this website address. This is where I sourced this from, to give you ideas as to how to use visual support. So when you look at the design, then keep it simple. Keep it clean and simple. I prefer to use the same font, one font. Maybe you can use maximum 2 fonts, one for the heading and the rest for the bullet points, but you don't want to have 10 different fonts. It really distracts the audience. And I have black print on a white background. At most academic conferences, that's the one that is used, as opposed to too much color and too much variation in font and so forth, and then it really gets distracting. So choose your fonts well. When you do decide to use graphics, use high quality graphics. Yeah, okay. And then limit your transitions. I know it's very tempting to then let the slide fly in, then let it come down from the top, then from the bottom, then let it, that can also get distracting. What you see here, what I'm doing, in this case, I'm just letting the slide appear every time. Let it appear, or let the bullet points appear one at a time. That's as much as I'm willing to. I don't want to distract my audience too much. When you use color, use it well. There are some pitfalls which we'll talk about again. And if you are going to use charts, use appropriate charts. It's useful to use a slide sorter, right, to arrange your slides. That's that panel on the left. Let me just show you this panel here. Is what I'm referring to. That's your slide sorter. If you've got it, just to help you to get your slides in the correct order. So just to get back to that point, avoid using the same theme as you know. Try and be unique when it comes to the theme that you use. So to come to the presentation delivery, I went through this a bit earlier. Show enthusiasm for your subject. You need to be confident. How do you get to be confident? The more you practice, the more confident you will find yourself to be. You'll just be. Remember, this topic that you're covering is one that you have been working with. You know your work. You've done your research. You have worked on it for weeks, maybe even months in our case. So now you know something that the audience doesn't. So the audience is wanting you to provide this information. So it might be a generic a topic that the class, your classmates also have, but I don't know what your approach is going to be to that topic, and I'm looking forward to hearing what your take on the topic is. So I'm very excited to hear your view on things, and so be confident. Practice, that helps, and practice some more. Remember I said that line I like to give, assiduus usus unire deditus et artem et ingenium saepe vincit. It's just a Latin phrase for constant practice at any one thing often outdoes skill and ingenuity, which is a long-winded way of saying that practice makes perfect. Gary Player is saying, it's up at one of the golfing ranges as well. They used to be very jealous of him, some people, and they used to say, he's so lucky when he gets a hole-in-one or he does a beautiful shot, and then he says, yes, I'm lucky, and the more I practice, the luckier I get. So practice. I know there are some cultures where it is not accepted to look into the eyes of someone who's in an elevated position, in a position of authority, or someone who's more senior. We in South Africa even have some of our cultures which adhere to that, and so we must be mindful of that. When you find yourself in a Western-oriented, especially workplace, and unfortunately, we are our education is based on Western culture, and our business environment, we find ourselves very often in a Westernized situation, and often eye contact is very important. So in this case, I would say try and make eye contact. Don't rush. Speak slowly and clearly. I don't mean speak so, okay? Just what I mean is don't rush through when the words become unintelligible. So speak clearly. Watch your volume as well, and your pitch. Use an appropriate volume and an appropriate pitch, as opposed to just monotonous monotone one tone. That's really boring, hey? And if you are in a venue and there's an audience there, and you're not just sitting in front of a camera, then you can move, but you have to be natural about it. I've seen some very strange things happen. People swaying from side to side when they're talking, or they're swaying. They do all sorts of funny things. It's very distracting. So if you do move, make it be natural movements. Like I'm using my hands. That's natural. That's what we do when we communicate. And relax. You've been working so long on this. You know your stuff. Don't worry about it. Just be relaxed. Okay. I want to give you the highest marks that I can, so I'm on your side, all right? Going through all of that now again, and I said I'm going to use Courtney Cook's Flickr.com SlideShare to give you an idea of design, right? So going through those same topics, but look at it, how they're enhanced when you are using visuals as well. So I'm not going to go through it again, but just to show how it helps, hey? So use color well, use appropriate charts, etc. The whole message is enhanced just by using visuals. yours. Show enthusiasm, be confident, practice, make eye contact. Nice one, that one, eh? And don't rush. Appropriate volume, move, be natural about it, please, and relax. So those are references that we use to design that that slideshow. So for the assessment, think about the content, keep to relevant information, select the key ideas for the discussion. Remember, you've only got 5 minutes, 5 minutes. So you need to be guided by that. Unfortunately, you can't cover to the finest detail everything that you're covering in your assignment, where you've got pages and pages that you can at your disposal to cover your topic. Now you've only got 5 minutes and you've got a few slides and you need to cover the same topic. So you should be referencing your sources of information as well. Try and do that as they come up in the presentation, but do have a last page where you do have your reference list. And then you must use Harvard as well, in your reference list under the title References. So you need to lead your audience along step by step. So therefore you need to plan what you're going to do and bring your audience gradually to the point where they understand this presentation is about to end before you end it. So what do I mean by audience reach? This is one of the points in the rubric. So in your rubric, you will get marks for content, right? That's 35 marks. You'll get marks for audio visual support, your color, your transition of your slides, etc. That'll be 15 marks. And then for audience reach, that's 20 marks, right? So audience reach, what do we mean by that? Do you connect with your audience? Are you holding the attention of your audience? Are you losing the audience? Are you making eye contact? Are you enthusiastic? Do we see in your facial expressions that you are enthusiastic? Please don't distract your audience with odd movements. All right, it's okay. It's a bit easier with the video recordings, but when you're in a room and the audience can see the whole of you and your slides and so forth, and you start distracting them, that can be difficult. Eh? So that's especially when you need to be watching out for your posture, and you need to face the audience. All right, with the recording, you're looking at the camera, hopefully, but when you are in a physical venue, and it is very, I see this mistake often where people don't look at the audience, or they might even turn their backs on the audience and look at the screen all the time, which is very bad. Eh? Don't turn your back. If you do need to turn your back to go and point at something on the screen, then turn back again and face your audience. All right? So what do we mean by visual support? Even your bullet points, part of, you're showing some text there, but use keywords. Don't use paragraphs and paragraphs. That doesn't work well on a presentation slide, really not, and it also becomes distracting. Avoid too many special effects. Please avoid that. That also becomes distracting. So you can show the title page and not rush through it, but remember, you've only got 5 minutes. As you can see, what I've done is I've used basically the same font size throughout. It's much easier on the eyes, and the color choice of your slides, that's very important. So I've used black text on a white background. That's good contrast. Here it's very difficult to see, especially when you project this onto a screen. It's going to be very difficult to see red or maroon on dark blue, or dark blue on red or maroon. When I show this slide in a room, then the audience can't read that the text. So here, this is an example of contrast that's very ineffective. If you move away a bit from this slide, you'll see that you can't actually read it. So dark blue on red or maroon, not good. You see there? That's red or maroon on dark blue on red or maroon doesn't work so nicely. Here I can't even see it. I'm using the same sentence as certain contrasts are highly ineffective, but you can barely read it. You can barely read it. So you've got, I think that's orange on light blue or light blue on orange. It's not working. So these contrasts, imagine you're in a room and you have this on the screen, the audience can't read it. So you lose the audience. Then when looking at your voice, don't rush. I know you want to just get away there. It's best not to rush. Speak slowly. I don't mean at such a snail's pace that you have a gap between each word, but measure your speed. Speak clearly. It's vital. If you do not speak clearly, the audience can't make out what you're saying. You lose them. Therefore, you need to rehearse. You don't know how long your presentation will be unless you rehearse it. I've had students send me presentations that are 7, 8, 9 minutes long. Then I have to send it back every time. And you can avoid that. When you do a recording, you can see how long it is. So you need to get the time to 5 minutes. So your voice is an instrument. Okay? Use it to its full potential. Use that voice. Visual support, again, graphs, photos must be clear. Don't let them be out of focus. And if you're in a venue, you must be able to make out the person right at the back must be able to see what's on the screen. Okay? And don't block. This applies more to when we are in a physical venue. So it's a good thing for you to remember these points. Then language. Be familiar with the vocabulary of your discipline. We want to hear that you've come to grips with the vocab of your discipline. So avoid grammar errors as well. Okay. And performance crutches, words. Some people tend to repeat certain words like well, it's not a word, but you understand what I'm saying. So you only pick this up when you listen to yourself. So you, when I used to do shows that were recorded, I would have to sit with my boss and we'd listen back to that recorded show, and then they would point out to me, you know, that's a crutch, that word that you're using there, and you don't realize it until you listen to yourself. So you know what areas need improvement, so then you can work on it. Okay, let's fix that error there. Eh? Let's just fix that one there. And pay attention to detail, or the audience will wonder about your level of professionalism. So I thought I'd leave that mistake in there. That is a small little detail. I'm talking about avoiding grammatical errors, and I've got a spelling error right there. Now, so I'm going to leave it at that. I trust this helps. And remember, your presentations must be 5 minutes long. I wish you the best of luck. All my best wishes. Be safe and let those presentations roll in. Bye for now.